And we are live. Welcome everybody to the Altcoin TA live stream today, 7 p.m. UTC. We're a bit early. All of us are. Just gonna do a few technical checks here for the audio and whatnot, and we'll get started at 7 p.m. Check. All right, awesome. Everything seems to be okay. Let's have a look at the live chat. The live chat is going to be instrumental to this live stream, guys. I mean, wow, last week on Thursday we had the Bitcoin halving webinar, and the live chat was just red hot with engagement, loads of good questions. And in this live stream, let's make it happen. Let's do more of the same. But more requests. So this is going to be very request focused. I'm here to chart altcoins for you guys this evening. We're going to be doing a hour session. I'm more than happy to stay on a little bit longer than that, so until 8 p.m. But we'll be diving deep into the TA for altcoins. At the same time, guys, there's always going to be a 20-second lag between what I say and what I see in the chat. So let's just bear that in mind. But of course, I'm going to be doing TA and looking at the chat every so often so that I can, be on top of all of your requests and all of your questions. So bear with me if I miss anything for a moment, but I'll definitely get back to that. Let's have a look. What's in the live chat? Blades. Zcash halving is in November, December 2020. Wait for the wave 2 pullback, which may happen end of July or so, and then ride up wave 3 into the halving. My gut tells me wait for wave 2. Your thoughts? Or is DCR the better privacy play for 2020? Well, I don't actually look at fundamentals this early in the market cycle, which is, I think fundamentals are going to play a massive role in those exponential waves. So in terms of Elliott wave, which I don't really use, although it pretty much is Fibonacci retracements and extensions. So people hate on the Elliott wave, but really it's Fibonacci extensions and retracements. So the wave 3 and wave 5 are going to be the most exponential, and I think those are going to occur in the mania phase of the altcoin market cycle. Later on this year, definitely next year for sure, we're going to have that mania and exponential rallies across altcoins. So the fundamentals are going to be, guiding that. You're going to see a lot of fundamental news coming out during that time, which is always funny to see because projects keep things under wraps for a long time and then release them when the hype and mania is very much apparent in the space. So yeah, in terms of Zcash halving, I'm not really sure in terms of when we're going to see that halving. I haven't seen the Zcash price action in years. I've never made any money off of it. I actually remember, and when I first started out early 2017, I did a Zcash trade and lost money immediately. So no fun memories there. But I will have a look at Zcash later on. But yeah, fundamentals. I wouldn't pay attention to fundamentals unless they're halvings. Although when it comes to Zcash, you have to really look at the historical price action and do an analysis there. What happens prior to the halving, what happens afterwards, and take it from there. It takes a lot of time to do that sort of analysis. And we only have an hour today, really. Obina, hey, what else among top 10 on market cap will gain most? Oh, well, that's a good question to keep in mind. Hello, Grant. Awesome to see you here. Abina, I think EOS is a sleeping giant. Florin, David, Elias, Gabriel, Uchiha. Hiro Saitama. Awesome. Thanks so much for coming. A Twitter person. I'm sure Uh, I've seen you guys in the Twitter space for a while, but everybody has different YouTube names. So Hiro Saitama, one of those people that I know has been through the thick and thin, bear market, bull market. We were in the trenches. All of us, I'm sure, at some point were in the bear market, in the thick of it, or throughout the majority of it. Or even if new followers are coming in now, we're here for the bull market and we're here to really make the most of it because we deserve it after such a terrible, difficult bear market. Samp, Lisa, hey, welcome to the Altcoin TA live stream. We're celebrating 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. We're going to get started at 7 p.m. Mastermind, hello, following you for 2 years now. Respect all your work. Big thanks. Thanks so much. Thanks so much for the long time following. I really appreciate that. By the way, guys, I'm going to be reading these things out loud because people who are going to watch the stream later on, they won't have access to this chat. So if I'm going to be answering any questions, it's always good for me to just read them out loud. Todd is saying that he read the Greed and Fear article on Medium, and that was extremely insightful and very helpful. I'm really glad to hear that. That's what I write these articles for, to add value to your investing and trading strategies. And if it does that, I'm all for it. It's great news. Hara, like your concise TA, keep it up. Definitely, always. All right, we'll slowly get started. Let's first start with a slow warm-up in terms of what we see here on Bitcoin. This wasn't a bounce I anticipated. I didn't expect this at all. It's difficult to, see a one day of dipping and then such a sharp rebound to the upside. Definitely not something I was expecting, and I'll be open about that. There's nothing to hide, really. I'm all about transparency. Didn't expect this. I thought it could go lower, although 9800 is a support. 9800 is a support, but this is the monthly order block for Bitcoin, and I spoke about this in my YouTube video. And by the way, guys, the TA requests that we're going to be looking at initially are roughly all the comments that people are leaving earlier on my YouTube videos. So it's going to be a few of those initially, and then we're going to be really starting with the TA requests in the live chat. Ionesco, is it too late to buy? Buy what? Jorge, hey, I made it on time. ETH is pumping. I bet it's because it's live stream. I wish, buddy, but definitely we don't have that sort of buying power to pump ETH. Timothy, hey, Tezos is on fire. Yeah, it's one of those outperforming altcoins. All right, guys. Without further ado, let's start. It's 7 p.m. Armrect Capital, welcome to the Altcoin TA live stream. I'm definitely going to be paying attention to the live stream as we go along. I'll be reading it and checking in on your questions as well as your TA requests. Let's start with the first TA request, and this one comes from YouTube in one of the comments. It was ADA Cardano. So what can we say about Cardano? And I'm going to be sharing my thoughts in terms of psychology, macro, long-term perspective, and whatnot. Always, first of all, zoom out in terms of what we see on the chart. Here, when it comes to ADA, we see that we've had a uptrending formation right over here. So I actually have all this in my quick start. So this is the accumulation phase for ADA. Really, if we want to think about it that way, ascending triangle. And this is the ascending triangle that we've seen in the altcoin market cap itself. So we've seen a break above that, and it's very important to always bear in mind this long-term gauge of investor sentiment, which is the 200 exponential moving average. And the thing is, most altcoins are rallying straight into this resistance. This is the 200 EMA resistance. Not many altcoins have made it above it, so ADA is one of those coins, which is a good sign. It's a good sign because as long as price is below the 200 EMA, people are bearish. As long as it's above the 200 EMA, people are bullish. Investors are fundamentally bullish on ADA at this moment. And you can see visually, just visually, every time we've seen ADA break above the 200 EMA, we've seen a support test. So this is something to bear in mind because we're seeing exactly the same right over here. But can we zoom in and talk a bit more about what's actually going over here? Because this is consolidation at highs, and I'm not necessarily a fan of this sort of price action. It kind of always looks like a topping out movement on the lower time frames at least. So my thing here would be to maintain itself above the 200 EMA. This is what we need for price strength confirmation, to really just hold above that level, to just confirm to us that investors are bullish on it and continue to be, because this seems to be some sort of consolidation at highs, and it's mid-rally, really. It's mid-rally, and in actual fact, if we look and zoom out, there's not a lot of resistance, immediate resistance. Perhaps over here, this would be that sort of point to bear in mind. Somewhere around here, or even here, really, but this is where we are at the moment, so it would be a bit further up. So my thing here needs to hold above the 200 EMA. That's all it needs to do, and as long as it continues to do that, this is a good swing moving forward. But it needs to continue holding this level, because there is no pattern really. There is no pattern on the lower time frames, and in fact there is this sort of rolling over that I don't like usually on lower time frames. So always zoom out, needs to stay above here. Alright, next is ONT. When we look at ONT, we're seeing the same sort of relationship with the 200 EMA, a support test followed by a pump and then a breakdown. That was a different context, right? That was a different context. We saw a downtrend, an extended bear market, a relief rally, and then a downtrend. And now we're actually trying to start a new uptrend. And there's a lot of signs pointing to this. Ethereum, ETH, BTC, the altcoin market cap. And when it comes to the 200 EMA for ONT, ontology, well, it's actually interesting because we're at that resistance. So ADA was able to flip it into a support, and we're actually seeing ONT trying to candle close. So it candle closed above the 200 EMA, and now it's pulling back to hold it as a support. So bullish confirmation comes in two forms. A daily confirmation in the form of a candle close above a resistance. So the 200 EMA is a resistance. And the second confirmation is a pullback to test that old resistance as a new support. And we're currently in that process for ontology. Currently in the process. Let's see how it continues. It could be the case that we see this candle produce, or at least go up and then close just above the support level, which would be fantastic for trend continuation. That's something I'd watch for the moment, because if we get a rejection from here, then the next support really would be around this level. Those would be the wrong tool. That was the trend line. So it would be around this level, this sort of order block, this sort of cluster of price action. So it needs to do that, needs to close and have some follow through for continuation on ontology. If it doesn't get that, we'll see a retracement most likely. So it is fighting with this 200 EMA. That seems to be the story for a lot of altcoins. Link was another one we got in the comments on YouTube, and then I'm going to take a few TA requests from you guys. This one is what I covered on Twitter, so you guys might be familiar with this. Symmetrical triangle within a macro wedge. And we saw a breakout in the form of a daily candle close, and then we actually saw a pullback to retest this diagonal previous resistance as a new support, and ever since we've seen a rally towards almost old all-time highs, which is fantastic, because once Link breaks this level, or even breaks this level, because this is the wick, right? If it breaks the blue level with a candle close, price discovery, and you know, we see exponential rallies from that moment. So that's something to bear in mind. Once we see a breakout past the blue all-time high, or at least the old all-time high, we'll have a new all-time high, and we're going to see a lot of FOMO buyers enter Link, and it's going to be really interesting because it's going to translate into price quite significantly. We're going to see a lot of exponential rallies in Link. All right, let's check out the live chat. Sir TA for BAT, XLM. BAT is coming. So is NEO, a mastermind. Vikrant says, thank you for the live stream, RC. Thank you. Can you look into Tezos? I'll try. We have a bit of a list growing here. Yes, NEO and Tezos look great coins for the long term. EOS is coming. NEO is coming. What do you think about Algo? This live cast is straight money. Setting orders now. Styan, please XRP and RVN. VeChain is coming. Let's continue. VeChain is actually next. Here's something that I'd like to mention to you guys. So VeChain is an interesting one at the moment, and I should probably make this a bit smaller or just tuck it in there. We need to think about VeChain zooming out, of course. It's at, well, okay, maybe not the best tool to use at this time, because we've broken this level right over here, right? So this was a previous all-time low, and we've seen a lot of price action develop over here. So it's going to be a very strong resistance going forward. If it used to be a strong support like it was here since November 2018 to March 2019, that's a lot of time at that support. So that's going to be a strong resistance going forward. And actually we see that over here, even over here, even over here. So many touches of that resistance. It's going to be a tough one. But going forward, what I want to say is this looks like a cupping formation to me. So a cup and handle, essentially speaking. So I'm just going to delete these to make it a little clearer for you guys. If we focus on this rounded bottom, because essentially speaking, we see a rounded bottom and then we see a falling wedge, which is something I'll get to in a second. That's the cup and handle. So a cup and handle has a very interesting psychology to it, and the psychological story that we can tell always appears in the volume. So a cup and handle or a rounded bottom is, we first see a lot of volume at around this region, right? So this is where the cup and handle really starts to start, really. This is the first sort of buy side exhaustion. So if you see this green volume bar right over here, I hope you guys can see it here. That's buy side exhaustion. So buyers have bought so much, the bulls have tired out that they just can't press price anymore. And we've seen that in the wick right over here, this wick here. So once we see buy side exhaustion, that's when the cup starts to form, and we see it form. If you look at the rounded bottom right over here, there's not a lot of volume here. I'm just going to move the cursor away. There's not a lot of volume at this level, right? At this volume bar right over here for months. Not much volume at all. People are exchanging coins with each other bit by bit. Bargain hunters are accumulating bit by bit as well. So not much volume at all. But then we see a lot of strong volume come in to form the rounded bottom to close it. So to start it, we have buy side exhaustion, a strong green candle, the rounded bottom starts to form. Not a lot of volume at all at this bottom right over here. Not a lot of volume in accumulation really. And then the rounded bottom ends with strong volume, and then you see a lot of volume right over here, lots of accumulation volume. And even on this falling wedge, if you compare this volume profile over here, it's much bigger than the volume profile over here. Just way more accumulation volume, and that just speaks volumes. No pun intended, but that is the psychological story, that we're seeing people more likely and happier to accumulate right around here because of the volume compared to this accumulation volume. People are just too scared over here. So that's the psychological story of the rounded bottom, that people are more likely to accumulate in this wedge. And the wedge is the cup, or at least the handle to the cup and handle. Something like this, really. This is very approximate. And I talk about this psychological story for every single pattern in my technical analysis course. And I go into a lot of detail because the psychology behind the price action is really important. Price action is a historical transcript of fear and greed, and we see this fear and greed reoccurring in the price as well as in the volume. So it's really important to analyze volume, and price action analysis as well as volume analysis is something I cover in my TA course. But if we zoom in here on the wedge right over here, so the cup and handle, the thing we need to bear in mind about VET as well is, because this is a resistance, something we were talking about earlier, that happens to be the top of this cup, right? The top of this cup. So even if we see a breakout from this handle, which is quite likely at this point, and remember, we're at the 200 EMA right over here. So we need to have a few closes above here. We need to have that 200 EMA turn into a new support, and so on and so on. But that breakout past the 200 EMA would also mean that we're having a breakout from this cup and handle, from this handle for the cup. So once we see a breakout, then it's this sort of this is something to be expected. This sort of movement, whether that's to this resistance and whether that's to this really strong resistance. On a macro scale, if we see a breakout past this blue previous support now turned strong resistance, because remember we saw a lot of price action here for many months. If we see a breakout past this level, then that's going to be phenomenal. That will actually activate this entire cup and handle, this macro cup and handle, which will only lead to very strong gains to the upside. But for the meantime, no need to imagine about beaches and yachts and all that. No need to imagine about breaking strong resistances. In the meantime, we just need to break this wedging diagonal and the 200 EMA, and as long as that happens, then we're going to see upside for VeChain. Alright, let's dive into the live chat. Thanks for this live and all the precious previous. Loris, you're welcome. Thank you so much for the kind comment. Tezos, bat, something about ETC, XLM. Okay, well, let's get cracking. EOS was one. EOS is very similar to ADA right over here. EOS was requested earlier, so and it was also requested on my YouTube, in my YouTube comments. So we're going to take it bit by bit. This is essentially what we saw very roughly, because guys, this isn't about precision. I just want to illustrate to you guys that really, and in fact, we could just do something like this with a bit of faking out right over here. It was an ascending triangle, so we're seeing ADA, EOS, all of these are mimicking the altcoin market cap. And if you zoom out on the altcoin market cap to the weekly chart, you're gonna see a ascending triangle, really, double bottoming ascending triangle, and we're seeing mimicking over here. EOS is mimicking that. And very much like ADA, it has broken past the 200 EMA, tested it into support, and now it's sort of developing a mini parabolic move. A mini parabolic move, because parabolics move such as like this sort of arcing movement to the upside, which is cool to see for EOS. If we zoom out, then the real resistance for EOS should start about, that's the resistance it wants to breach, but the most sell side pressure for now would probably be around here, really, yeah. So it would be this level here. So I'm just going to change that to a dotted level. Because what's going to happen here really is EOS is going to break into this range. It's going to break into this range. So this is one range. If we just do this, this is one range, right? And essentially it's just leveling up in a sense. It's going up to this range. So it's like climbing stairs, or at least taking the lift. It's going from platform 1, or at least level 1 to level 2. And what we're trying to see here is a one-day close to reach level 2, really. And once it does that, it's going to come back into this range. And this range is a pretty much... and guys, I actually don't really use this percentage thing because I always look at it visually. It's not about... For me, it's not about money and percentages and whatever. For me, it's always about risk-reward. For me, it's always about visuals, supports and resistances, moving averages, Fibonacci's, VPVR, you know, all these different things. It's technical indicators. And if you look at the technical indicators, the cold calculating indicators, they don't lie. And if you dissociate yourself from money and from percentage gains and from beaches and yachts, you'll go a long way in terms of your trading and investing, because you won't get so emotional about it. It's all about detaching yourself from that outcome, because if we think about money too quickly, then we get really hyped up for no reason, but we need to look at the technicals. So for EOS, yeah, coming into this range, one day close. If it pulls back to retest this as a new support, that's okay. That's okay as well. It's trying to break into this range, this 20%, 24% range. Moving on, BAT. People have been talking about that. You guys in the live chat have requested BAT for a while. And I'm actually going to illustrate this, guys, on some content that I've had here. This is sort of the charts you can expect in Rex Premium, my premium trading group, where I share plays. You know, it's a playbook. Essentially, BAT was forming uptrending support. People wanted to buy at a premium. This isn't the premium just yet, right over here, but over here, this is the premium. Over here, this is the premium. So you're seeing an uptrending trend line just showing to you that people want to buy BAT at a premium every single time. At the same time, the 200 EMA is forming a resistance and it's pressing on price, which is why on February 4th in Rex Premium, I spoke about how I'd like a one-day close for BAT. And I know that because BAT has a very interesting characteristic that it's very volatile. So if you just look at these wicks, all this wicking to the downside, all this wicking to the upside, all of it, it's a very volatile coin. So I know that if we get a one-day close, we'll probably have to retest the 200 EMA as a new support, but not without a fake out to the downside, which is supposed to run people's stops, is supposed to make them panic. And this was my game plan for BAT. And sure enough, it happened. It was picture perfect, though I have to say that I didn't expect a strong fake out like this. I expected a fake out, but not a strong one like the one that happened. And the thing is, it comes back to that volatile characteristic that I mentioned to you guys earlier. It's a very volatile coin because the investors and traders holding this coin are volatile themselves. And what I mean by that is they're very emotional. They're very emotional, and you see this in the wicks. These wicks are very extreme emotions. So over here, this wick is panic, and over here, this wick is FOMO, right? So far, we've seen a breakout for BAT to the upside. That's 10%. I think that's slightly changed since, it's slightly changed because of the Bitcoin situation for BAT, but BAT is a wonderful coin to trade. Look at the cyclicity. Even if you And by the way, guys, this is the sort of analysis that you can expect in Premium on a daily basis. I'm taking new signups from Monday. Monday is when new members will be able to officially join. You can, of course, pre-order your spot in Rect Premium. We're starting with new members from Monday next week. So a few more days. There are a few more spots at $49.99. So check it out. Only a few spots at that price level left. So the link is in the comments of this live stream, so check it out when you have the time, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions. But look at BAT. It's just that cyclicity, and essentially speaking, on the macro scale, we have this sort of movement for BAT. And if you think about this range, once it leaves the range, of course, once it breaks back into the range, then I'm probably, this is, we can also see probably some faking out of this range, much like this, right? So this is the range to bear in mind for BAT, and we're just at the beginning, man. We're just at the beginning of this range on the macro scale. Just thinking about it, we're really early in the cycle. We have to keep a level-headed approach there, because if we think about BAT on the more macro scale, notice how it's an ascending triangle, really. Ascending triangle, I'm going to get rid of this. So we're going to probably see BAT rally towards the upside further, probably here, that's the candle closes, right? The candle closes. So this is essentially the ascending triangle. I'm going to try and make this as clear as possible for you guys. Right over here, ascending triangle. That's what's going on. So if we zoom out, at the moment it is within this, this ascending triangle is going to resolve itself within a week or something, but this range is going to take months to see, for BAT to explore. So first of all, we've broken above the 200 EMA. Now we're going to try and test this level. This is going to be the ascending triangle top resistance. We're going to have some turbulence over there, as we have in the past here and here. But ultimately, we're going to be looking for confirmation above the top of this ascending triangle, because once it does, then we're very much going to see BAT explore this range further. All right, I gave a very in-depth TA here on BAT. Let's move on to NEO. Let me just take a sip of water. Okay, NEO was mentioned like a handful of times in the live chat earlier, so I'm happy that we finally got around to it. I'm looking at Bittrex because we've got more price action, and more price action gives you clearer trends. Look at that, all the way back to November 2016. That's fantastic. The more price action, the better. And remember, guys, it's interesting because VeChain is resembling NEO with its rounded bottom, and the way to confirm this rounded bottom is to check the volume. So remember, guys, what we were talking about, VeChain, the rounded bottom starts with strong volume, and we're kind of seeing that. It was more pronounced in VeChain. We see a sell side over here, not a lot of accumulation, because rounded bottom, the bottom of the rounded bottom is where people are most fearful, so we're not going to see a strong accumulation volume. That's just the psychology of it. And even if you see small amounts of buy volume, you actually see strong movement, because there's not a lot of, that small buy volume can actually trigger a lot of price fluctuation. But over here, the rounded bottom ends with a strong buy side volume bar and candle, so the rounded bottom has finished, but we're seeing this very strange cupping, or at least this handle, and essentially speaking, it kind of is forming something like this. I actually don't really like that too much. Let me have a think here. The 200 EMA is an important reference point here. It has been tested as a support. I want to see the problem here with this trend line, and I'm just going to explain to you my thought process, is the 15th of November is this point, this price point, 10th of February. That's a lot of months in between these two price points, and I don't like the validity of this trend line. I like it to have as many touches as possible. Like here, this is a perfect trend line, technically speaking. This isn't, because we've seen so many months in between these two price points. So I'm not too keen about that trend line. But perhaps the 4 hour can give us a bit more insight. We're seeing this rounded quality for price, for NEO. I like price to develop a bit more here because it's trying to breach this cluster of resistance, and it's a lot of resistance right over here if you look at this cluster of price action. So the thing here would be to test this as a new support, because over here we broke past this level, tested it as a support, but it broke down again. So this has to hold as a support, and once it does, we're going to have grinding. We're going to have grinding because there's a lot of price action here that's going to be resisting price. Honestly, not the best trade. Not the best trade at all. In the short term, it has to clarify itself. Even if you want to place this trend line over here, if it helps you, okay, but if we see a break past it, I wouldn't assign much significance to it. It has to test this level as a support because it's not in a good position, really, not really showing a good setup. ICX, this has been a crazy one. This one has been a crazy one. Lots of volume here. If we just have a look here using the Fibonacci, it's only retraced 50% from the highs. So if we just zoom in a bit more, that's yeah, I don't like buying coins after such a exponential move, because this could easily break down. This could easily turn into this sort of descending triangle, and then we see a further retracement. So on confirmation, breaking this diagonal would be a relief rally would follow, but on confirmation, because this isn't usually a good spot to be in. If you're a buyer and then you're just holding for this price compression to resolve itself, we're going to see some coiling into the apex of this triangle. It could really go like that, and then that's not too good, or it could go like that. So on confirmation, these sort of symmetrical triangles, this kind of looks like a descending triangle. The volume itself is descending as well, so that psychology is there as well. On confirmation, that's the safest thing. This isn't a trade that's too safe for risk-averse people, traders and investors. Timothy says, I was planning on buying Icon. Well, that's the thing. You have to be careful. It's okay buying into a trend, but this trend is just sort of consolidating, and there is no trend at the moment. It's non-trending. So it's important for it to resolve itself before any FOMO or anything like that. All right, next is Zcash, requested at the beginning of this TA live stream. I'm not sure about the halvings, but what we need to bear in mind here is that the 200 EMA has been a resistance, and it's been a very good point of reference. We've seen a rejection here, and this is the first time. Just like ADA, just like EOS, we've seen a test of this 200 EMA into a new support. But what I don't like about the price action right over here in the short term is that it's kind of consolidating at highs. And is this accumulation, reaccumulation? Is this distribution? It's this sort of consolidation isn't really showing me continuation signs, not yet at least. Right over here we have a lot of buy side volume, right? So before this buy side volume would produce a strong rally to the upside. You can see that. Just trace all these different buy side volume bars and you'll notice that there are strong buy side candles. But over here you're seeing a strong buy side volume bar, but this candle's not really reacting. So the bulls are putting in a lot of effort, but the payoff is very small because the prices are moving. So that's quite interesting. I'd like to see follow through from this support because we're currently at support. Is this a head and shoulders? The volume wouldn't really suggest. So I'd like to see the support hold. That's all. And if this really is this sort of range, short-term range, then I'd like a breach past this range and a test of this support. To turn this resistance into a new support. That's all. So that's pretty much Zcash right there. And we're going to take a few more requests, but I just want to show some of my plays as well that I took over the past while really. It's been a good time to trade altcoins and whatnot. This was BAT, I spoke about that. FET, Fetch, very similar, and of course these are kind of plays that you can expect in Rect Premium on a daily basis. So Monday to Friday I post daily Bitcoin and altcoin analysis. This is something you can expect on a daily basis. Charts as well as in-depth commentary like I'm offering today. So this is FET right over here. And if you're interested in Rex Premium, check out the link in the comments down below. It's the pinned comment. It's an interesting time because we're seeing a lot of these sort of downtrending channels for altcoins, and FET is one of them. We see a breakout followed by a significant retest of this black diagonal new support, followed by a 14% rally to the upside, and Nexus also shows this downtrending channel, and we see a breakout followed by a pullback and then a retest and then a 14% rally to the upside. So we saw ADA, we saw EOS, we saw those sort of coins break out very similarly to the altcoin market cap, which is essentially an ascending triangle breakout right over here so that I can springboard to higher levels. We've seen that. So we're seeing all these different patterns. And the thing is, as a trader and investor, you have to answer the question for yourself. Which formations work best for me? Is it the downtrending channel, or is it the ascending triangle for EOS and ADA? The downtrending channel for Nexus and Fetch, or the other ones? So with Komodo, for instance, you're seeing a double bottom and a uptrending line right over here. So it is kind of a symmetrical triangle, but this is the downtrending channel, the downtrending resistance, and Komodo breaks past it, but it has to pull back to retest it, and it does, with a bit of faking out because it's a volatile coin, but it does that and actually reaches the 200 EMA resistance, which is essentially my target. That's 23% gain since the breakout, with a very decent stop loss. It was only a few percentage points, so no hassle there, because you have to accommodate for volatility with these sort of volatile coins, especially when they pull back to retest their breakout pattern. That's just what happens. So this is something that I talk about in Rect Premium on a daily basis, and I'm taking on new members on Monday, so feel free to check Rect Premium out in the comments below. It's in the pinned message, and I'd be more than happy to answer any questions you might have about that. Let's take some more TA requests from you guys. Ionescu, ZRX. All right, let's check out ZRX. Let's check out Binance and Balthazar RVN. All right, let's do that too. What else? KNC from Luca. All right, KNC has more price history on Bittrex, I believe. Not really. Not really. Not even on there. Okay, so ZRX. I'm just going to delete all this because this is... Okay. Always zoom out, right? Always zoom out. What's going on in the chart? And I always keep my 200 EMA on because, guys, really, it's a crucial time for altcoins. They need to break past their resistances, their long-term resistance. Because as long as we're seeing price below the 200 EMA, people are bearish on altcoins, and they're bullish on altcoins once we see a press past the 200 EMA. So people aren't overly bullish on ZRX at the moment, District OX. They are buying at a premium, that's for sure. And you know what? I think this is just kind of looking like a similar situation to Basic Attention Token. So if we look back to Basic Attention Token very briefly over here, that's what it's kind of reminding me. You know, it's got the uptrending, not as stable. This is a very stable trend line. ZRX doesn't offer that really, but has this sort of wedging price action. So this price compression right over here. We're seeing price compression in towards the apex of this triangular wedging structure. And we're seeing the same with ZRX right over here, but it's only started this, right? So it's only started this. And I'm just wondering if we're going to see that happen in the future. So essentially the trajectory could turn out to be like this before some sort of movement. Of course, that's invalidated once we get a daily close above this 200 EMA, right? And it's struggled to do that many times before. Over here was fine, but it just has to hold this as a support. So at the moment, no setup for ZRX, for me at least, for my trading style, because it's at a resistance, right? It's at a resistance, and I don't long at resistances. I wait for those resistances to become supports, and once they become supports, the psychology changes. People are actually selling over here, but if we see price break out, test it as a support, then the psychology shifts. They're not selling anymore, they're actually buying, and then that's why we see uptrends. So ZRX, that's the story right over there for ZRX. Let's move on to RVN. Here's an interesting one. I'll take a sip of water. Marco just landed direct. Awesome. Thanks so much. You could make it. Adrian's also in there suggesting Steem. I'll just add Steem as well while we're at it. Let's do Bittrex. I think it has more price history. All right, let's look at this. Gabriel, Obina, it is risky to buy into a parabola, but we could get bullish confirmation from a good close today. Rect Capital, 3 month, Rect Premium. Let's do it. Let's do it, man. Let's do it. Absolutely. Have a look here for RVN. All right. I like this accumulation volume. It's picking up. It's picking up. That's the psychological story right over here. a pullback in terms of volume, accumulation, and then we're seeing a lot of accumulation here. So in terms of the macro scale, it's at lows. I mean, this is a coin I really traded in the past, so I'm just going to remove that for clarity. Let's start from the beginning. Level. Resistance. And it can be this easy, guys. It doesn't have to be complex. Start easy and then take it a level further. So the level further would be this lower high resistance. This sort of wedging structure. So this is reminding me of Link. And I'm just trying to think if I have Link in my playbook. Let me just see. I think I might. Yeah, I do. Okay, right. So have a look at this structure on RVN, right? And have a look at this structure on Link. This is one I covered on Twitter, so no secret what happened. You guys were probably following it. But in any case, it's this wedging structure, this blue wedging structure, which is more of a macro pattern. We're seeing the same on RVN right now. So if we just turn this into, even if we just use the same colors for fun, well, it's unmistakable. The very similar, very similar. I wonder why. I truly wonder why. The 200 EMA is figuring as a resistance, but it's interesting to see how we're seeing this sort of movement. Double bottom, and then this would be the point as to where we'd have to think what's going on. Are we going to see a breakout further? But if we just zoom out, we're essentially forming a larger double bottom. It's a larger double bottom because so here's going to be a very useful thing for you guys. So this is going to be a double bottom, right? Right over here. I'm just going to trace the price. What letter does this form? It forms the letter WIN. W, rather. I'm going to put this back over here, and I'm going to do the same here because we're seeing a W, but more extended, and that just shows a different... I'm going to explain what that shows, really. Both form the word, or at least the letter, W, and that's a useful letter for the word win. And it's a useful mantra whenever you see a double bottom, that's W for the win. And I talk about this in my course as well, where you're just going to win from a double bottom, especially if it breaks out. So a double bottom breaks out from the top of that W, right? So the top of that W is going to be this lower high trend line right over here. I'm going to try and highlight this because we're getting a bit more, let's see, green. Okay, green. Let's turn that back into green. Right. Hopefully that's more visually pleasing and more outstanding. This lower high is the level that would validate this double bottom formation for RVN. First of all, it has to breach this 200 EMA. Once it does that, perfect. The double bottom formation is en route to decision point, which is around here. This is the decision point for RVN, this green level. And the thing here is this W right over here, this W is more spiky, more volatile than this W over here. And that only just shows to us, let's even do that, right? I've made the price action disappear. This shows to us that price has been accumulated over a period of 20 days, roughly. And this shows to us it's been accumulating for 70 days. So what's the difference? Well, the difference is the time and the volatility of accumulation. So essentially speaking, whenever we see a sharp double bottom like this, that just shows to us that the buyers are emotionally engaged, very, very fervent in their accumulation, hence the strong reactions, hence the strong volatility to the upside and in these regions. So people are very keen to buy RVN over here. The story of accumulation is very different right over here because it takes a longer time and people are more peaceful, more gradual in their accumulation. Nobody's buying too big. People are exchanging coins slowly but surely over time right over here. And once price goes to the upside, it hits a resistance, price returns, and then people who missed the boat before, people who initially wanted to buy at this price point here, they think to themselves, wow, I've got a second chance. I'm going to start accumulating here peacefully, gradually. And then that's what happens. That's how a double bottom forms. Essentially a second chance at redemption to catch a coin and see if it can do the same in the future. So that's RVN. I've explained the price action. I've explained the psychology underpinning this price action because the psychology talks. And psychology never lies because it's fear and greed. Humans are predictably irrational, and the charts always show us a transcript of fear and greed. Fear on the way down over here and greed on the way up. Fear on the way down and greed on the way up. So I just want to see this macro wedging structure resolve itself, and I want to see the 200 EMA become flipped into a support on the 4-hour time frame because we might not get that on the daily. We might actually see a strong breakout afterwards. So on lower time frames, that support test would have to happen, and once that happens, we'd probably see the top over here. That's RVN in a bit more detail. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Let's move on here. And of course, guys, like with RVN, like I talked about, this is all stuff you can find in Rex Premium on a daily basis. Long-term perspective, short-term perspective, when to be greedy, when to be fearful, when to not worry at all, psychology management, reading psychology in the charts, understanding what's going on, just that guidance. Daily basis, Rex Premium, that's something I offer. And I'm very proud of it because it's been going on for many, many months and years, actually. Rex Premium is many years old now. I'd have to think how many now. It's been a while, but it's something I really enjoy doing, sharing content on a daily basis. But let's dive into Kyber Network. What is it doing? It's cupping and it's handling, but not in the standard sense. Here we have this sort of double bottom here and double bottom, but it is a rounded bottom fundamentally. Alright, I'm going to draw this a bit better for you guys. Let me take away the volume profile. We're not going to talk about volume. I've probably spoken about volume too much already. I don't want to, I don't want your eyes to glaze over because of the volume. So I'm going to give that a rest, but volume is super important in terms of telling a psychological story. Oh, hey, Dennis, thanks for joining. Thank you so much for the kind words as well. Really happy you joined it. Dennis has been a long-standing follower, so I appreciate everybody. And you guys, all of you guys, I've seen on different occasions, whether that's on my YouTube, on my Twitter, right over here in the live chat. Really appreciate talking to you guys. Familiar names and familiar faces. It's awesome to see you guys. Double bottom over here, but fundamentally, remember, this is a rounded bottom, right? And then you have the handle. And it's interesting because you guys are suggesting a lot of cup and handles. So what does that say about your psychology? I tend to see a lot of wedges. I tend to see a lot of price action with wedges. So if you're seeing these sort of, and double bottoms are something, it's a recurring theme here. And we have to be reflective. We have to have a bit of self-awareness, try and develop that self-awareness. Why are we looking at double bottoms? Why are we looking at rounded bottoms? And why are we looking at cup and handles? Perhaps those are the trades that we find are most interesting to us. Maybe they make us most emotionally excited, and we have to question ourselves, is that a good thing that we're excited about a trade? Because if we're excited, we're more likely to FOMO or panic sell, make emotional decisions. So I remember when I used to trade, I can't remember the pattern right now, but there was a pattern that always tricked me. I got so emotional about that pattern when I was starting out a few years ago. I always got emotional about that pattern, so I just stayed away from it. Whenever I saw that pattern, I'd say, you know what, I know what, this isn't good for me. The best trading that I do is ascending triangles, wedges, VPVR, support bounces and resistances, and points of control. Captain Bean Crypto, hi from Brazil, Mr. Ect. Hello, Mr. Captain Bean Crypto. Welcome to the chat. Stop looking at my rounded bottom, Cobra says. Andrew says, I love rounded bottoms. So lots of interesting discussion here. But we love rounded bottoms here, it looks like, because it is a recurring theme here. Cup and handles trigger an interesting psychology, and it's just good to understand why. And Kyber network is at a point where it's broken out of its wedge, its handle from the cup and handle, and now in the lower time frames, interesting pattern. And this is something that is down my alley, potentially. Potentially. Here we go. That's a triangle. You could even argue that it's a flag. There you go. It's very simple. Very simple here. That's the triangle, or at least the flag that we'd like to see resolved. And somebody asked about the VPVR. See, that triangle isn't very apparent on the daily time frame, but if you zoom in, you gain that clarity that, wow, okay, look at that. A flag. So that's great. We're going to zoom out and turn on the VPVR and have a look here. We're going to zoom out a bit more. And the first resistance, according to the VPVR, is over here, right? So if we even see a breakout for Kyber, let's say that's a 4-5% rally. If you're a scalping trader, that could be a good deal. I mean, I don't scalp. I don't really short-term trade. I'm a swing trader, so I swing. The trades that I was showing you guys right over here, Rect Premium Material, 24%, PIVX 20%, and in fact PIVX, so this is PIVX in its ascending triangle. I wanted a daily close above the top of its ascending triangle, and it pulled back very much like KMD, right over here, right? So a retest of the top of its breakout channel here as well, right? So we saw that on Nexus, on KMD. PIVX did exactly the same, testing the top of its breakout pattern, and then it rallied and it actually got all of my targets. And in fact, it got this target as well, and so much more, because as we'll see, if we type in PIVX, it was just crazy. Look at that. Craziness. All targets hit, 26% at most, but 54% if you were lucky to keep holding and not have any sell orders. So I'm really happy with this trend. That's fantastic. But back to Kyber, it is a 5% breakout potentially, because if we see Kyber break out, then it will hit this top, and I wouldn't want to see a double top form. I'd like this resistance to break out, and then we'd see some further upside. But now we're thinking too many steps ahead for Kyber. So far, the flag has to resolve itself, and then it's this level right over here. Because if it breaks past this level, then the VPVR says to us that we could see this level later. One step at a time, and we'll take it from there. Take it step by step. Jorge is asking, Rect, question, do you also chart coins that are on KuCoin, not in TradingView? No. The reason for that is I have nothing against KuCoin, but, you know, because of the bear market, KuCoin has a lot of coins with very low liquidity, so I don't trade those, nor do I chart them, because with my following, if I posted a chart with KuCoin, we could really potentially manipulate that order book, which is something I don't want to do. But I also don't trade them because accumulating that sort of coin on KuCoin and then potentially selling it later is going to be very difficult because of those liquidity difficulties. So no, not really. Alright guys, it's 8 PM. The last coin, I remember Adrian suggested it, Steem. We're going to look at Steem and we'll potentially call it a day. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll be happy to answer them. Maybe a request or two. Let's look at Steem, and before we do that, I'll just take a sip of water. Alright, Steem, right over here. Also one I used to trade. Steem, Bittrex has the most price action for Steem compared to Binance. Binance has better volume, so I'll probably chart on Bittrex, but I'll trade on Binance. That's how I'll do it. And I'll see if my TA on Binance aligns with the TA on Bittrex. That's usually how I do it. Very volatile coin, quite illiquid because of what we're seeing in this volatility. Pivex was very similar in that respect. I'm just going to be some perspective charting. Steem's more of a coin that just progresses level by level. I'm going to turn the VPVR off. So Steem doesn't really have a trend, in my opinion. It's kind of also cupping and handling. Guys, I really don't know what is it with these rounded bottoms and handles, these cup and handles in today's live stream. I've never seen so many cups and handles in my life in one place during a charting session. I just don't, for some reason, chart such coins often with such formations, which is interesting. But it makes it quite easy because right over here is the top of that pattern, and essentially speaking, I'm going to delete these things just to make it clearer for you guys. This is the handle, very briefly, very roughly. That's the handle, and we need to see this level breach for the cup and handle formation to take place, and that's going to be a good thing for Steem. But the immediate roadblock is obviously going to be the 200 EMA resistance. So once we break past here with ideally with a candle close 7% to the 200 EMA. So note how we're getting wicks over here past this level and wicks over here. That's volatility. That's FOMOers getting trapped right over here. People FOMOing, not waiting for confirmation in the form of candle closes past this level of resistance, and they get trapped. They lose money. So it's very important to get that candle close above this level, and then afterwards we'd probably see that 7% rally. But the thing is, 7%, is that something that, you know, you have to ask yourself as a trader? You're looking at these potential trade ideas, but is 7% worth the time? Is it worth, you know, the emotional involvement? All these different intangible factors come into play. So that's what I'm looking for with Steem. And in terms of its longer term view, I'd like it to breach the 200 EMA. And once it does that, then the coin is officially has a shift in psychology, but it has to breach this 200 EMA and hold it as a support. And that's the case. All right, sip of water and last TA request before we wrap up. And of course, guys, all this TA, all my knowledge, my long-term perspective, money flow cycles, fear and greed, index analysis and market sentiment analysis on a daily basis in Rect Premium. Pinned in the comment is the link to Rect Premium. You can book yourself a membership for $49.99. And I hope those $49.99 memberships haven't gone, because I've put a few, a limited amount, and then the price increases afterwards. Price go up, as is the meme in crypto, because the usual price is $89.99, and it's just very good this alt season because we're waiting for that second cycle, right? We're waiting for that second rally, something I was talking about in my YouTube video. We're waiting for the second rallies in altcoins, and they're just around the corner. And with Ethereum performing the way it is performing, then it's fantastic. It looks like we're going to get that altcoin rally, that second leg up for altcoins very, very soon. So check out Rect Premium. Great value for traders and investors like yourselves. Here for Ethereum BTC, this is a similar play that you'd see in Rect Premium with analysis. This is something I was talking about in my YouTube video, so I'm sure you guys are familiar with this. Whenever we see Ethereum BTC break past the 200 EMA, we tend to see very strong reactions. So over here, right over here, a breakout past the 200 EMA got us a 21% gain, followed by a rejection or a pullback to around the 200 EMA once again. So essentially speaking, a support flip. A support flip, and if we cycle all the way here, I'm expecting history to repeat itself, breaking past this 200 exponential moving average, rallying 20%, and then pulling back towards the 200 EMA before going on a monster tear. That's what I'm expecting. Historical chart, price tendencies, that's something I'm bearing in mind for Ethereum BTC. And it looks like everything's on point here, because in the previous update last week, I think in my YouTube, I was waiting for this level to hold as a support. It's done so very nicely. A U-shaped reversal occurred here. I'm going to zoom in just to show you that. It's not really apparent here on the 4 hour, unfortunately. But if we zoom in, this is beautiful. U-shaped reversal, gradual reaccumulation, followed by follow through on great volume. I don't even need to pull up the volume profile because that's beautiful volume right over there. And it's most likely going to reach the target right over here. And that's about it for the TA live session. I see WTC Walton Chain is in here, another play that I made as well. I saw a double bottom, and a double bottom is always validated with a break past its resistance, so I was waiting for that candle to break past here, and we did. We got that. We got a bit of a pullback back here, not a picture perfect support test, but a 35% rally towards the target here. The wick almost reached it, which is good enough in my book. First target, second target, and of course, whatever you want here in the meantime, 35%. That's all for me from WTC. I'm not looking for anything from Walton Chain because that's the trade for me. Once a trade is over, it's over, and then I wait for a pullback or for some sort of resetting to happen in the psychology of the market. So that's something I look for. And that's about it. I'm just going to end with this is the link to Rex Premium in the comments down below. If you want to check it out, feel free to. A special price of $49.99. What you can expect in Rex Premium: daily Bitcoin and altcoin analysis, money flow analysis, market sentiment analysis, analysis of fear and greed, more long-term perspective, macro views, short-term views, you name it. You can get it for a month or 3 months. An awesome time to be in crypto. It's an awesome time to be in crypto. Altcoins are only just starting their market cycle. It's fantastic to be in crypto right now because Bitcoin started its market cycle on April 1st, 2019. But altcoins are now starting their market cycle, and it's very early on. So very cool to be in crypto, and I'm glad to be on this journey with you guys, because after a bear market, it was the most devastating bear market to experience, and we experienced that bear market together. So let's experience this bull market together. We deserve it, truly. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming today, for your activity in the live chat. I hope you enjoyed this live altcoin TA stream. It was to celebrate 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. So thank you so much for your support with the YouTube channel. And thank you so much for your support overall, whether that's on Twitter or in my DMs. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this TA session. And of course, I'm thinking about doing a webinar in the future, in the next few weeks, and you guys will decide what this webinar is going to be about. The previous webinar was about the Bitcoin halving. The future webinar will be about a topic of your choice. So I'm going to post a poll in the next few weeks, and we'll take it from there. But in the meantime, thanks so much for coming. All the very best, and I'll speak to you very soon.